Well, Casey here with CL Creative, where I'm teaching you web design and Webflow one video at a time. And today we're going to talk about how to optimize your website. Particularly, we're going to talk about how to optimize the images that are on your website so that your page loads quickly. You know, visitors come to your website and they're just sitting there waiting for the page to load. Well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to hit that back button and they're going to bounce off of your site. They're never going to see your message. They're never going to see your products. They're never going to see the services that you offer. And you're going to be wondering, well, why am I not getting any leads? Why am I not getting any sales? A website that has images that have not been optimized could be one of those reasons. And so today I'm going to give you 4 ways to how you should optimize your images, as well as a bonus tip. So stick around to the end for that. So let's jump into the computer and let's check things out. All right, well, here we are in the computer, and this is just a quick page that I've put together. I've used Untitled UI to, throw together a quick landing page. And really the reason I did this is just to show you that on most pages, there are going to be images of different sizes. And so if we just click preview, pull this out full size, you're going to see that you've got your hero, which is typically going to have a decently sized image in it. You're going to have some other feature sections that maybe have some cards that are going to have images that are much smaller. And maybe you're going to have some sections that have more medium-sized images and, maybe even some images of some people that are more medium-sized. So the first thing that you need to keep in mind is, what is the size of the image that I need for my web page? Now, here, you need a fairly large size image, but in this section here with our 4-column grid, we do not need an image that is as large as the hero image. We need something much, much smaller. And so simply by resizing your image, you can reduce the file size of that particular image, which is going to help your page to load faster. So that's the first thing that we need to do. Make sure that the images that we are using are the appropriate size for our particular page. The next thing that we need to do is we need to use a service. And one service that we can compress our images with is TinyPNG. We're going to look at a couple other ones here in just a minute, but TinyPNG is one. And so I've gone ahead and I've just downloaded a couple of images from Unsplash. As you notice here that some of these images are 640. A couple of these images are 1920 by 1280. Now this might be okay for the hero, but that's still a fairly large size image. We'll talk about resizing in just a moment, but one of the things that we want to make sure we do, and the target that we're trying to hit, is 100 kilobytes or less. If we can get all the images on the page 100 kilobytes or less, or in the instance of some of these that are only 640, 78 kilobytes, and this one right here is at 60 kilobytes. If we can get those images down below 100 kilobytes, down into even maybe below 50 kilobytes, then we are doing a good job. We're going to be serving a page that's going to load fast. It's going to be optimized for desktop as well as mobile, and we're hopefully going to decrease the amount of people who are sitting there waiting for our pages to load, and we're going to decrease our bounce rate. Now, one of the things that you can do with TinyPNG is you can take all of these images right here. I can grab all of them. I can drop them into the site. And within just a matter of a few seconds, it's already optimized all of the images that I have here. You can upload 20 images, max 5 megabytes each. One of the downsides of this TinyPNG converter, though it is very good, is that it will only convert it back into JPEG, right? You're not going to have an option, at least on the free version, you're not going to have the option to change this to PNG or to WebP. If you upload a PNG, it's going to give you a PNG. If you upload a JPEG, it's going to give you a JPEG. And you don't really have the option to change what the size is going to be, to resize it, nor do you have the option to change how much compression it is doing, though it does a very good job, and I have used this for quite a while. Now, one of the other apps that I found that I really like that allows me to not only compress my images, but also resize. So resize is huge. If you're pulling out of Figma, you're probably going to get the right size for the design because it's coming right out of the design, and it's going to be the right size for the website. But say you already have the website page built and you just want to change out the images. You go on Unsplash or you go somewhere else, you get some professional images taken, which, always works out much better than just stock images. You get this file and it's huge, right? It's like if you get professional images, it might be like 6,000 by 4,000 or maybe even larger if you're going with like a medium format camera, and you're definitely not going to upload that to the web, nor are you going to compress that, because in order to get it really, really, really small, like I don't even know if you can get that, upsize that down to 100 kilobytes, but to get it really small, you're going to have to degrade the quality of that image quite a bit. So resize is huge. We could upload it into Photoshop or some tool like that, resize it, export it, save it, and then utilize tiny PNG. But that's a lot of work. And I don't know about you, but I want to decrease the amount of steps that I have to do in my workflow. So I found Squish app. So say we take one of these that's 1200 we can click on the resize tool, and you notice that it gives us a width of 1920. I can go ahead and decrease this. Say I want to decrease it down to 1000. It also allows me to pick what type of compression that I want to. So what type of file type is this going to be, or what's it going to be converted to? And so I want to convert it to WebP. WebP is pretty much the web standard now. We need to be converted as many images as possible to WebP so that they will load faster. And so you get the ability to do that here with the Squish app, as well as you get the ability to resize, and you get the ability to pick the quality. So here it's defaulted to 75, and you notice that this huge image is already down to 89.5 kilobytes. Now you might be looking here and you have this slider. So this is the before, this is the after, and you're thinking, that looks a little bit blurry. Well, one of the things that you need to keep in mind is that it is showing you the 1920 by 1280 size. If you decrease this a little bit down to maybe like what the 1000 might represent, and you go back and forth, you don't see much difference at all. The other thing that I found is whenever you export this and you save this to your desktop and you open it back up in your file viewer, it actually looks a little bit better than it does right here. So there's something with the resize that doesn't quite compute just right. So keep that in mind as well. So Squish.app is great. If you have 8 images, you can pull them in. The only thing it's not going to do, it will keep the quality as well as what you want to turn it into, but you're going to have to click and resize this each and every single time. Small inconvenience, and you can only do one at a time, unlike with Tiny PNG, you can do all 20, but there are advantages with Squish App that you don't have with Tiny PNG. Now, the other tool that you can use is just Webflow itself. So I do all my building in Webflow. If you're watching this video, you probably do your building in Webflow as well. And one of the things that you can actually do now is you can upload your images to the assets panel. Now, I think this works much better if you've already have these resized, because as you're going to see here in just a second, you do not have the option to actually resize the image. Though what it will do, and you have to, so when you initially do it, it's going to be in this view. You have to click this button up here, expand assets panel. Tooltip it gives you. Once you expand it, now what you can actually do is just select the images that you want to compress. So we're going to select our images we want to compress. You notice it has a number of different options up here. We don't want to delete, but we want to compress. So you can click compress. It's going to tell you that it's going to compress it, and it's going to actually compress it down to a WebP format. Again, it's not going to resize it, so you need to make sure that they're resized prior to uploading them to Webflow to utilize this compression technique here in the assets panel. But this can be a huge time saver as well, particularly if the images are already at the right size that you need. Now, a little caveat, sometimes this compression works really, really well and the image looks really good. Other times I found that it just doesn't look all that great. So I will at times find myself utilizing something like Squish App just because I have control over the quality. Now, I did say there was going to be a bonus tip, and this is our 5th tip, bonus tip. One of the things that you can use is this utility that Google actually will provide you to convert your images to WebP. Now, this takes a little bit of coding knowledge. It takes the use of the terminal, and you've got to be super specific with how you have everything lined out. But maybe a better video for another day. I'm not going to go through how to set all of this stuff up. I'm simply just going to show you the advantage to utilizing this method. I'll link to this. You can go through, set this up. It took me a little bit of time to get it all set up, but with the help of ChatGPT, I was able to query some things and understand how all of this works and get this set up and utilize this today. So you have your terminal, simply just using VS Code to access the terminal. You can do this in any other way that you want. The one thing that you do have to do, just to go into this a little bit, is and you'll see this in a moment in the code, but you need to have two folders that are set up. So you need an inputs folder and you need an outputs folder. Now, these folders can be named whatever you want, but for simplicity's sake, I have chose to name these input and output. That way, I don't have to change this and make sure I get the file right. I just simply drop my images in input, and then they're going to show up here in the output as WebP. So let's talk over to the Notion doc that I have set up for this, and I've got all the different ways in which you get this set up already out there, as well as I have a number of code snippets that I have pre-made. And you notice here you have your link to the actual folder here. So this is going to the inputs folder, and it's going to run it through the utility, and then it's going to put the file in the outputs folder. The only thing that we're going to do here today, you notice that I have a resize here. You can actually resize these two utilizing this, but there is a caveat to be aware of here as well. If the image is, say, 640, like in our files, it's going to actually upscale it to 1200, and it works great for images that are large, say like you get a massive file from your photographer when you have that shoot for your business, 6,000 by 4,000. You can decrease those all in one go here, as well as decrease the quality and change the file type. But just know that it will upscale those images that are smaller than 1200. So you may have to run two batches if, like in our case, we've downloaded from Unsplash, and we want to make sure that those images are the size that we need them at. But we're not going to worry about that. All we're going to do here, and I just want to show you how powerful this is, we're going to take our JPEG, we're going to turn it into WebP at a quality of 70. Again, we have everything set up in the folders. I'm simply just going to take that code snippet, I'm going to paste it in here, and I'm going to click run, and just like that, all 8 images have been compressed into WebP. Now, again, I would need to go in and resize some of these because it's still 1920 by 115. But if we looked at some of these that are already smaller, like say the 640, we notice it's at 27 kilobytes. And this image actually looks, pretty good here. Totally usable for our website. And one of the reasons why you might utilize this rather than utilizing the assets panel is if you need to do a whole bunch of images. So you notice here I have 2 folders. One of them is my project gallery, and in this gallery I have 103 items. It would take me a long time to run that through SquishApp, and you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't I just upload this to the assets panel in Webflow? Well, these were put into the CMS, and if you're going to place items into the CMS, at least at the making of this video, you cannot utilize this nice compression feature that Webflow has. You have to compress them prior to uploading them to the CMS. So a tool that Google offers you here, this compiler or this utility, excuse me, is amazing. It has saved me a ton of time on some of my latest projects in converting these massive, image libraries over to WebP and reducing the size of them. So those are 5 different things that you need to keep in mind. 3 tools or 4 tools and 1 best practice, which is going to be resizing those images to the appropriate size for the particular page. Again, I don't need a 1920 by 1080 image here. I might need that here, but probably not. Maybe like 1200 or 1600 might actually work really well for this image, which will help me to keep the quality up so it's a nice, clear, crisp picture, while also reducing the file size. All right, well, if you got some value out of this video, would you smash that like button for me? And if you want more content like this, I'm putting out videos each and every single week that's helping you to up your web design and Webflow game. Subscribe to the channel. And if you have some ideas for a video, I would love to hear from you. Leave those down in the comments, and I will try to make a video that answers your question. Hope to see you next time.